Bandwidth for VT Talk is provided by vaporworld.co.uk.
Well, hello, good evening and welcome. I'm Dave.
I'm Darren.
Over there we have
Dougie.
And here we have and it all says so on the bottom.
Does indeed.
I've put names on so I can remember who everybody is. Hello, good evening and welcome to Blue Night here at Vapor Trails TV Towers. Tonight being Wednesday night, it is time for the one and only chat show programme called VT Talk. Yes indeed, here we are, ready to do damage. We have, as you can see, the team tonight, all presenters in their own right, and presentable in their own right as well.
No blue shirts tonight.
No blue shirts tonight. What we're going to do, just basically have a look at some of the top news stories of the week that have come to us from tobacco.org. This place, it's a wonderful place to go and have a look. And we're going to pick up on the first one straight away, where it says, "Are e-cigarettes here to stay? A study suggests that current and former smokers are turning to electronic cigarettes." There now. It says, electronic cigarettes are picking up steam, and not surprisingly, especially among smokers. That is the main message that comes from a new study in the American Journal of Public Health. About 40% of individuals reported they'd heard of e-cigarettes, and awareness was highest among smokers. What's more, smokers seem to be among the most likely to use e-cigarettes. So far, I'm not that surprised. E-cigarettes go by many names, including vapors, personal vaporizers, and nicotine vaporizers. There are many brands, flavors, and nicotine strengths available for purchase at convenience stores and on the internet. They are not regulated by the FDA as a drug delivery device because they are not marketed as quit smoking aids. This is an unproven device and we know very little about its long-term health effects, says researcher Jennifer Pearson, PhD, MPH, Cadbury's Dairy Milk and Bar. She is a research investigator at Legacy, an anti-smoking group in Washington, D.C. But you can't guess what she's going to say. E-cigarettes are probably less harmful than combustible cigarettes, but we don't have data to say that and can't talk about long-term effect. Colour me surprised. There are many unknowns and unanswered questions, she says. For example, have they encouraged former smokers to reignite their nicotine addiction? There's a good question. Are current smokers using them to quit or to circumvent smoke-free indoor air laws? That's another good question. And how are they affecting people who have never smoked? And are they acting as a gateway product? Well, there you are. Some very good questions in amongst that little lot. Dougie, what's your take on that?
It's not too bad, to be honest. I mean, there was a couple of things I didn't like. Calling them like a, classing them, could they possibly be a gateway product? Especially for people who have quit smoking. And what she says, could they be like a gateway product back into smoking? I personally feel if somebody was to maybe want to get back into smoking anyway, they would. And if they use this, well then, it's better for them anyway, as we know. Well, as we believe.
I think we know.
Well, yeah, we do, but they need data, don't they? They always want years and years of data, and unfortunately we don't have that at the minute.
No.
But if they did use it as a gateway product, brilliant. I'd rather have them on these than obviously going back to the cigarettes again. Indeed.
Darren?
I'm really impressed by the statistic that she actually said, because I didn't think it would be anywhere near as high as that as yet, given the fact that the electronic cigarette market is still relatively new. And I've read some articles and that cuts really close. It's really refreshing to see something where we've kind of like covered, you know, along the same lines. And also, I think that some of the things that were actually being said, you know, these aren't statements, you know, the questions alongside with what everybody else has got. And it leaves a lot more room for scope, which is, it's refreshing, it's good to see, you know, and it's something that I would personally embrace. I mean, I've been vaping now 5 months today actually, and I've still got so many questions, and it's really good to see from a different angle that, you know, it's getting really good coverage.
Yes. Yes. I mean, this article goes on to say that e-cigarettes resemble traditional cigarettes. I'm not sure that one that you've got in your hand at the minute resembles a traditional cigarette. Does it, Sav?
It's about twice the size and it glows blue, but from a distance, I suppose it might.
That reminds me of a joystick. That does. Those of you that are old enough to remember joysticks will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but anyway, it goes on to say that they have a cartridge mouthpiece, a vaporizer, an indicator light. You inhale and the vaporizer converts a nicotine-containing solution into a vapor mist. Weren't they on? Never mind. The smoker then inhales this vapor. When the vapor runs out, you can purchase refill cartridges. Okay. According to many harm reduction advocates, their main selling point is that they only contain nicotine, not all of the other hundreds of other chemicals found in tobacco. This suggests that they may be a safer cigarette. And the new findings suggest that smokers are interested and have tried e-cigarettes as cessation devices. Oh, God. E-cigarette manufacturers do not market their products as such, but the word on the street is that these are cessation devices and should be used as such, Pearson says. Anybody got any comment on that last bit? The word on the street is that these are cessation devices and should be used as such, Pearson says. Anybody?
And I had so much faith in that article there.
Who
All I
did
can
they
say
ask?
is not on my street.
No.
My street neither, I've got to say. I mean, I don't consider them to be a cessation device. As far as I'm concerned, these are here to enable me to carry on smoking.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes?
definitely.
Smoking, vaping, call it what you like, scintillating if you wish, whatever you want to call it, it's that so that I can carry my habit on. And do any of the four of us dissent from that view? Do any of the four of us see them as smoking cessation devices?
I must admit, when I first started, because I didn't know until I started the research, when I first looked at it, I honestly thought that the whole purpose of it was for smoking cessation. It wasn't until I tried it, because of the fact that I never wanted to quit anyway, and when I looked into it and researched it, of my own accord, with nobody telling me and not reading articles like this, is how I came to the understanding that it wasn't a cessation device. And I mean, I'm not trying to blow anybody's trumpet here, but thank God in a way for vapor trails, because I've learnt so much from this channel, you know, being as a new vapor, from a lot of other sources, you know, to find out, you know, that it's not a cessation device. And I'm really glad, because like I say, I never wanted to quit smoking in the first place.
Well,
like so many of us.
Well, I certainly
Yeah,
didn't.
exactly.
The last thing on my mind was packing in smoking. It was the ability to have a fag where I couldn't have a fag, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the whole be all and end all for me, was to be able to continue what I had been doing. But what was your take on it, Dougie?
I don't like them to be classed as a cessation option, but we can't deny the fact, if you look into them enough, you could actually use them as one. And I like the fact that if I ever decided, you know, I'm going to try and cut down my nicotine, I can do using these, you know, by manually making my own, you know, own liquids and stuff. But I do not believe they should be classed as that. It's good that they can be used to possibly cut down, but they're not, you know, they're not a patch at the end of the day. You're still trying to mimic everything from a cigarette. So it's obvious people are doing it for a reason, because they don't want to quit. If they did want to quit, they'd go on the patches. That's basically my take.
Yeah. Sav, what about you?
Um, it's something, again, I've never looked at them as quitting device at all, but I can see, yes, you could use them for that. And I mean, I'll read some of the comments that we've had coming in from chat.
That'll be lovely.
Especially about the cessation. Russell has just said, it is a cessation device, as in ceasing to smoke tobacco cigarettes. Andy Bell said, I looked for a different way to get a hit and found these. Yansu Finn says, it's a better nicotine delivery system, that's what they are. Old has said, I was asked today why I'm still using my mod. The lady thought I was giving up smoking. I said I have to an extent, but still get my nick hit, and they are not a quit device. So that's what we're getting coming in from the chat room.
Yeah, it's kind. I think to a large degree, a lot of this is caused by this whole notion of that word smoking, isn't it? And I think there's a lot of people have bought into I don't smoke anymore. But I mean, I know I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again 1,000 times. But if the e-cig police come round tomorrow and they take everything I've got away, including that stack of shelves of God knows what.
Just been admiring now.
Eh?
Just been admiring now.
Oh, there's a lot there to play with. I mean, if they came and they did that and took everything away, I'd be up the corner shop, crack a sparrowfart, £22 in hand for 3 packs of Marlboros. That simple. Because what I haven't smoked a tobacco cigarette in coming up to 3 years. In August, in actual fact, because I'm not going to even say I fell off the wagon. I went on holiday the first year I had e-cigs, and my batteries couldn't handle the heat, wouldn't work. Exactly the same as happened with Keith. And I ended up going and buying fags.
Yeah.
And that was fine. And when we came back, as soon as the battery started working again, in fact on the aeroplane on the way back, I was talking away on it, and that was fine. That wasn't a problem. Since then, I'll cover this tomorrow night actually on the show, what I'm taking to cope with the heat, because apparently we're going to get 40 degrees. That's even warmer than it is here.
Yeah, it was about that.
Because it's been scadding for this last month here. I mean, I don't know about
it's been unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have any problem with that particularly. I don't enjoy a cigarette anymore.
No.
I don't think I would enjoy a proper fag anymore at all. I much prefer what I get out of e-cigs, but I wouldn't say I wasn't a smoker, because I'm still using the nicotine. I'm still an addict. It's just, to me, it's just like a heroin addict that's swapped from smoking heroin to injecting heroin.
Yeah.
You're still getting heroin. And in this case, we're still getting nicotine. So, and as we heard, the insurance companies last week, we heard that the insurance companies consider that we're still smokers because we've still got nicotine and will relapse and all stuff such as that. So, yeah.
It's interesting as well though, because with you saying about the insurance part, because a thought came straight into my head, and this is another thing which I suppose is debatable. When we take away, because of the fact of nicotine, but when we take away all the carcinogens in the 4,000 odd chemicals and all that contained in cigarette smoke.
Yes.
I always remember about a month after my last tobacco cigarette that I went and got a carbon monoxide test, and my reading came in is that of a non-smoker.
Yes.
So it still surprises me to a degree that insurers can look at it from that, because the carbon monoxide level was trace. It was, you know, that of a non-smoker.
Aye.
So how they can weigh it up is the same. I still can't like understand it, you know, because there's no carcinogens. There's not 4,000 chemicals. Fair enough, yes, there's nicotine, but isn't there not nicotine in a tomato?
But there's nicotine in aubergines.
Well, that's it.
There's nicotine in potatoes. There's nicotine in all kind, anything, actually, basically any plant that's got some form of defence against insects will have nicotine, or is likely to have nicotine in it. So that accounts for an awful lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's I suppose it's the levels.
Yeah. Well,
of nicotine. Or cotinine, or what the hell ever. I mean, the level that's in tomatoes and aubergines is vanishingly small in comparison to 45 milligram juice, like what Dougie's been coughing over earlier on. But yeah, I mean, it's
Because to me, that still goes along the same lines, and to some degree. If there's nicotine in an aubergine or a tomato, I mean, fair enough, the levels are different, but it's still nicotine, you know, to a degree. And if that's what the main purpose of what's in one of them, you know, that's where I'm still stumbling here, where yes, I know about where we would still class ourselves as smokers to a degree, but still in some way we've lowered the risk dramatically.
Well, yeah, I mean, I tend to look at it from the point of view that I've stopped smoking tobacco.
This leads me back on to something Dave, Russ said. He believes they could be classed as a cessation device because we are basically coming away from smoking tobacco, but we're not. Basically, from the day we use e-cigs, we're cold turkeying, so we're not weaning off, we're off. So I don't really understand that comment, to be honest. I'm not.
Well, I think to some degree it's down to how the health professionals define smoking cessation, and to them, the World Health Organization at least, defines smoking cessation as cessation of nicotine use, getting rid of the nicotine. If you've got rid of the nicotine, you've packed in smoking. That's the way they tend to look at it, and that's
exactly that's what I was taking it as. But where Russ said he would class them as a cessation because we're coming away from using tobacco, but yet we're still using nicotine. So that's why I wouldn't class them.
If I was going to class it as a cessation, it would be a cessation from the chemicals and the carcinogens and the smoke, but no more than that, really.
I wouldn't. You see, I would only class it to do with the nicotine.
Yeah,
because that's what we want. That is what we want. We want the nicotine. We can do without all the rest. That doesn't mean anything to us.
Yeah.
To a large degree, I mean, it's semantics, isn't it? You know, if somebody, for argument's sake, was to call you an alkie because you sup 20 pints of Newcastle brown ale every night that God sings, and you're the size of a house egg, and you switch to 20 double scotches every night that God sends, and you turn around and say, well, I'm not an alkie anymore because I'm not drinking all that beer. I'm drinking scotch now.
Yeah.
Still getting the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, so you haven't. No. You haven't packed in.
That's a really good way of thinking about it.
It's only just come to us, actually.
It's a really good way of thinking about it.
It just came to us. I spotted me belly.
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
cider belly. But I mean, that's effectively what we're doing, isn't it?
True.
Sav?
Yes?
Your take?
You need to give me a bit more than that. I'll just read some of the comments that I've just got through. Russell again has said, I still do not go down the nicotine route either. If I had a choice to have nicotine but no inhalation and exhalation.
Exhalation?
I'll try that again. That's the one, yeah.
Sucking in
smoking vapor.
Aye.
Or just vaping glycerin. He would go for the second option every time. MG Jones has said you're basically just using a new brand. I did have another comment, but I've lost it. Oh yes, Moonlight says maybe next time I run out of juice, I'll have a whacking great salad and see if that works. Seabiscuit has said, so they're not that fussed that we're off the thousands of dangerous chemicals. They're more concerned about the relatively harmless nicotine. And Olga said, if there was a quit kit that weaned me off the nick habit, the hand to mouth habit, and the eye telling my brain that I'm still smoking, then I'll use one right now.
Really? That surprises me.
Well, I spoke to somebody the other day who was a smoker, and she quit cold turkey, and basically she quit because her chest's really bad. She's got this cough. She's had it for years, and she can't shift it even after the cigs. And when I was saying to her, I says, how easy did you find it? And she says that she could still pick one up and have one now, and that's after 10 years. She could still quite easily pick one up and have one now, but you won't, just purely on the health aspect. So to me, I mean, I know I just talking to one ex-smoker.
Oh well, that's my experience as well. Of folks I know that packed in. I mean, my dad chucked it in for it was about 8 years, and you would have thought after 8 years,
yeah,
sorted. My granddad, 20 years,
yeah,
and then they both overnight.
Yeah.
Something must have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I can't remember how old I was. It's an awful long time ago, which is why I can't remember.
Yeah.
But something must have happened in the family that had caused some kind of stress. And their immediate reaction was, I ain't going to fight it, give us a fag. My mum, this was really funny, my mum went to see a hypnotist to pack in. And he told her, this is so funny, he told her every time that she had a fag, she would want to retch and vomit. And when she came out from seeing him, the first thing she did was light one up and throw up. And she reckons she battled it for days until she could smoke a cigarette again, because she'd gone and she didn't want to pack it in.
Yeah.
And again, look, I mean, just because this interests me, if you're in the chat room, by means of yes or, well, just yes, if it's no, say, don't type anything. But did you take up e-cigs for health reasons? There's the question. Did you take up e-cigs purely for health reasons? Nothing else. Just in order to be more healthy, because you considered smoking was bad for you. And I'm just watching to see how many clicks of the eyelid we get on Sav. It's all gone quiet.
It has.
I tell you what, we'll take a quick break while they all get typed in.
Yep.
And we'll find out what the crack is when we come back. And this will be even better if I can remember which number I've got to press. Back in 2 ticks. Don't forget the question. Did you take up e-cigs purely for health reasons? Type yes if you did, say no if you didn't.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk.
Do you want your cash to scratch a little bit further? Do you want a safer cig? Then you need Safer Cigs, a proud sponsor of VaporTrails.tv. Go to www.safercigs.co.uk, stretchy man not included.
The GG, because you want one.
iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VaporTrails.tv.
And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by Vaporworld.co.uk.
Yes, so there you go. That was, and we are grateful to Vaporworld for their support of
Yes.
VT Talk. We certainly are. What's the reckoning? What's the scores on the doors then, Sav?
I would say we're probably a 50-50 split of yes and no's.
Oh, we've got some no's. Are there any comments on the no's?
Oh, you asked me that now. They've now been talking about other things.
And what else have they been talking about? Like?
MJ Jones says no, it was just a bonus. Our dear Dougie, I'll read his comments. He says he stopped because he was told it stunts his growth.
There he is. Stand up, Dougie. Oh, sorry, you are.
I was going to stand up then.
Yansu Finn says no, I wanted to smoke inside. Super 7, no, I just gave it a go and liked it. There's a few people that said yes, but there were other reasons involved. They were tired of the smell and things like that. So that's the type of stuff that we've got coming through.
Right, yes. Well, it's quite interesting actually, because that kind of leads on to one of the second stories, and this is, it's a kind of a duh headline on this. If we look at it and scroll it down, Smokers are more likely to try e-cigarettes than non-smokers. I'll pause for laughter. Survey findings
Get paid
released.
for that.
Say that again, Dougie?
And they get paid for that.
Yeah, they do. Millions and millions of dollars they get. It says here, Washington DC, so that's the one in America, not
Yeah.
the one down the street.
Yeah.
Survey findings released today show new insight into the use and awareness of electronic cigarettes, devices that allow smokers to inhale vaporized nicotine in a cigarette-like fashion. According to a peer-reviewed scientific article in the American Journal of Public Health, there you go, 40.2%, so that's 2% more than in the last article,
Yeah.
of Americans have heard of e-cigarettes, and over 70% believe they are less harmful than regular cigarettes. In addition, current smokers are more likely to use e-cigarettes than non-smokers. This is the first nationally representative study to look at awareness and prevalence of these products. I'm sorry, but the whole notion that smokers would be less likely to try e-cigarettes than non-smokers just leaves me bemused. Dougie is so right. I dread to think how much it's cost for somebody to come up with that. I mean, it's just a little bit obvious, isn't it?
Baffling.
But that's a good thing as well if you think about it. You don't want no smokers using them.
Do we not?
Well, people who don't smoke, you know, you wouldn't want them start. Well, I wouldn't want them to think, you know, oh, I'm going to have one and start using an e-cig. I'd rather them not use anything. You can take that line in many different ways.
Well, I'm going to come back to you on that one. I am, and this is just me being a little bit devilish, right? Right. But here's the question: given that my belief, anyway, is that nicotine is no worse than caffeine at all, that to me is a little bit like saying I don't want anybody having their first cup of coffee. So I'm interested as to why you take that view.
Well, I don't know. I just read it as if it was saying, you know, people may just use them for the fun of it. You know, a no smoker might see somebody using one and think, you know what, I'm gonna use that every now and again. I just took it. Maybe I read it in the wrong way, to be honest. But
well,
it seemed a bit of a pointless line.
Well, it's just an interesting thing. Is when you said that you know you'd rather people didn't start, or that non-smokers didn't pick an e-cig up. I mean,
yeah, I'd rather them not pick anything up. If they was going to pick something up, I'd rather them pick up an e-cig, obviously. Right. But
right.
if I, you know, somebody said to me, which one should I use? I'd say none.
One of the reasons I ask is I think if Sue71 is in the chat room, she was a non-smoker that took up e-cigs because her hubby was using them and she was intrigued by it, and she smokes or vapes or synthalates a zero nick, and apparently she's happy as Larry with it.
I also know as well, because I've spoken to Sue on a few occasions, and I know that Sue, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, and I'm sorry if I am, but I do remember Sue telling me that she was a bad asthma sufferer as well, and it's even helped with her asthma.
But the main thing is she's on zero nick. If she was on 10 milligram, I'd be like, well, you know, that'd make me sit back and think, but why? You know, when she's never smoked before, but she's not. She's on zero nick, so it's more of just a pleasurable thing. Obviously, she's not taking in the nicotine. So, you know, that doesn't really make me think, you know, well, that was not daft, I suppose. It's a bad word to use, but she's on zero nick, so she could put them down and not use them again for a long, long time.
It's something that interests me because, and in a, slightly related, I suppose, my daughter, all right, she's got reasons at the minute, but before she became the mother of my yet unborn grandchild, I've asked her, is she sure it's hers, and she is. Well, you'd never know. She'd gone off caffeinated coffee. She's drinking decaf, and I tried some, and you might as well have a glass of water. It's a waste of time. In fact, it's a waste of boiling the kettle. Decaf coffee for me, I can't see the point. It interests me a little bit in that there seems to still be a certain level of demonisation, I suppose is a word, of nicotine.
Yes.
Yet it's, to me, it's no worse than caffeine.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. What's your take on it, Sav?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll read what chat's take on it is first, and then I'll get back to me.
Okay.
Moonlit has said, I wouldn't specifically suggest a non-smoker take up vaping, but if they fancy a go, I'm not going to argue. It's entirely their choice, same as cigarettes. Same with booze, and I'm not going to force feed anyone a barrel of ale, but I'm sure as hell not going to tell them not to do it. Andy Bell says, thinking about it, I shared a mill of zero nic with my wife for a night and she enjoyed it, but she hasn't wanted to do it again. Russell has said, smoking or vaping is a lifestyle choice. If someone wants to inhale and exhale particles, let it be so. I think that e-cigs without nicotine can be recreational and beneficial in other ways as well. MG Jones 74 said, controversial comment time, but I'd rather kids tried vaping than smoking. And Moonlit again has said, any other adult has as much right to decide whether to vape, smoke, drink, whatever else as I do. And I have to agree.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, I think a lot of people know that I come from a libertarian standpoint on this, and my take on it is it's your body, do with it what you will. You know, if you want a 6-inch nail through your nose, I'm not going to get it done, but if that's what you want to do it. You know, I mean, I'm aware that there are people in the States that will chop fingers off because they think it looks cool.
Yes.
And if that's what it is, fine, get on with it. It's not harming anybody but yourself, so do it. And I'm exactly the same with...
Sorry to interrupt you there, Dave, but Sue71's commented in the chat to say, thank you, I'm really enjoying vaping and it's helped my asthma and chest no end, and I love the zero nic and all the flavours.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, you cannot say fairer than that.
Exactly.
But yeah, as I say, I'm coming from the angle that it's your body, do what you like. And, you know, I know we joke on about 45 milligram and 36 milligram and Diablo Loco and stuff like that. And there's a bit of bravado in all of that. But by the same token, it's my belief that if it's out there and you want to use it, you should be allowed to.
Vaping is such a you know, the thing I still say now, don't underestimate vaping. It is such a phenomenal thing. I'm having such fun with flavours, you know, in comparison to cigarettes, which came in 2 flavours, which was tobacco and menthol, you know, in 2 flavours only. There might have been other flavours before, I don't know, that must have been before my time.
Well, for me it was 1 flavour. Yeah.
Tobacco and Marlboro.
There was just no flavour.
Yeah.
I mean, once you've been smoking a given brand for generally took about a month or 6 weeks, there was no flavour.
Well, that's it. And I'm having such fun with the flavours still. You know, I can probably still count on 2 hands the total of flavours that I've been vaping on mainly. One
11.
of them being don't stop me off. But you know, one of my main ones, which you'll remember, was the cheesecake. I was on
God,
that
yes.
God knows how long. And
why? Just why?
It just because it's something that isn't normally done, you know.
Well, so is kippers, but you wouldn't want that either.
But it because it was there, it had to be tried, and I really enjoyed it, you know. And the thing that's really exciting as well is, yeah, we've got a couple of 100 flavours, but how many more flavours are going to eventually come out? You know, endless amount of flavours that are going to be created in the future, and. You know, I think that it's just starting, you know, it's really just starting. I love vaping, I love everything that it stands for, and I'm really excited about the future for it.
Well, I love your enthusiasm, I have to
honestly.
say. I mean, he's bouncing up and down here.
I tell you.
You can feel
I'll start chair dancing in the moment. No, I'll not.
No, don't do it.
Can I interrupt you with an interesting comment that's come in from chat?
Any time.
It's not as easy as it sounds. It's from Steve Mack, who says, the problem, Dave, is that society has to fix the harm that you do to yourself. If you pay for the fix yourself, then it's fair enough. To which Dave K has replied, I thought we did pay. And Yansu Finn has said, as long as it's legal to sell tobacco, it's double standards with the healthcare thing.
Well, I'm with Dave K on this one, because over my 57 years, I started paying tax at a stupidly early age, basically because the tax man caught up with us. I was a musician. So I've been paying tax now for 41 years. And I think I've paid enough in, and I haven't used it that much.
That's it.
You know, bottom line on it is, I mean, I've got a lot of sympathy with what Steve Mack says. You know, if you're going to do something that's risky, then you probably need to be insured to take account of any medical bills that you might generate one way or another. But that applies equally to folks that are climbing up Everest, jumping off ski jumps, tobogganing down the Cresta Run, and all manner of other things that can cause them physical danger. You know, and just using a substance, whatever that might be, if it's legal and it's not going to get corrupted by being cut with stuff that it shouldn't be, there's going to be far less instance of it. But you know, I mean, as I say, I'm coming from a libertarian point of view. When it comes down to nicotine, I cannot see the harm, and I never have. The harm comes from cigarettes. We are led to believe, I'm not going to say it's true, but I mean, we do know it doesn't do you any good, because I know I feel a damn sight healthier now that I don't smoke tobacco, and I do. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. But what tickled me more about that story was that smokers were more likely to try e-cigarettes than non-smokers. But it may well be that the worm turns, because, well, I'm going to go around the panel and we'll start with Dougie. Dougie, how old were you when you had your first tab, and why did you have it?
I was 16. The honest reason why I had it, the only thing I can put it down to, is I had money to spend and I didn't know what to do with it. I was obviously at work, I was surrounded by people, you know, most people smoked when I was 16. And I just had money to spend, and I bought a packet of cigarettes, and that was it. Simple as that. Just to see, just to try. Just to see, and yeah, and that was it. And the funny thing was, my mum had been smoking for about 2 months, and I'd been having a go at her for it, and then I decided to start.
Right.
Which is weird.
That's a queer one. Daz, how did you start? How did you have your first smoke?
I got intimidated by 11 Fob girls.
Yeah.
I forgot already.
I hadn't forgot, but there might be a few people that don't know the story. No, do tell the story. Look down the camera.
Okay.
And tell the story.
The story is for everybody.
Hang on. Just before he tells this story, please make sure you have a change of underwear and trousers to hand. You might just wet yourself.
The story was that when I was 15, just prior to sitting my GCSEs, every weekend I went with my cousins to a farm where they tended the horses. I was the only male amongst 11 females, and I think 8 out of those 11 females, all the same age or a little bit younger, smoked.
Right.
And I didn't. And basically it was a case of one day they pulled out a shiny pack of 20 Benson Hedges and said, do you want a cigarette? And I said no. And they said, have a cigarette. And I said no. They said, have a cigarette or we'll jump on you. So I had a cigarette. So I had a cigarette.
No, I'm not having one.
I'd have said exactly the same, Dougie.
So I had a cigarette, and then basically following from that, I carried on. But that was down sheer to exam stress and peer pressure.
Right.
There you go.
So the threat of being jumped on by 11 women,
peer pressure and exam
turned
stress.
you into the tabs.
That's it.
See?
Turned us off women as well. No.
That's a subject for another show, Darren.
Okay. You'll need a full hour on VT talk for just that one.
Do you know where they live now, Daz?
He's been threatening to bring them to the vape fest.
Yeah. Yeah.
If 11 farm girls turn up to Vape Fest,
To me bodyguards.
run, they'll jump on you.
I'm only in touch with 2 of them now, which are my cousins.
All right. Not land girls then.
Not land girls.
No, well, you're not that old, are you?
Oh.
Sav, how did you start?
I think I was the stereotypical 15-year-old, all my friends smoked on the way to school. That was very common, especially with the group of friends I was in, and it all started from one girl that smoked, and then 2, and then 3, and then it was like, yeah, okay then. Just because everyone else was doing it.
Because it looked
And I
cool.
think-
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was probably one of the most common ways when I was younger.
Yeah, right.
Just peer pressure.
My story is quite strange.
Mine's not.
Well, strange in a different way.
Okay.
You do realise that there's men up and down the country jealous as hell of you.
Oh, they'll all be trying to Google Earth the farm now.
I won't read some of the comments that came in from chat during that story.
I think perhaps you should.
Well, one of the comments from Moonlit was, I would have took the jumping, then cigarette.
Well, that's the
Steve
normal
Mack,
way
very
around, isn't it?
similar. Steve Mack, very similar. A lot of people asking where the farm was. And does he still know where the farm is?
It's now a housing estate, unfortunately.
I think he can guess the rest.
Yeah, I think we've got a reasonable handle on that one. Like I said, there's a lot of lads out there thinking you jammy bugger.
Yeah.
Yeah, aye. No, I mean, I've spoken about my granddad an awful lot over the last few weeks, and for all sorts of reasons. And I won't apologise because the man's very dear to me, and I miss him terribly. But he came back from a holiday in Switzerland with this little pipe, tiny little wee pipe that he'd bought us as a present. My granddad had some queer ideas about presents for me, seriously. All brilliant stuff, but like off the wall, you know. And this was a tiny little wee pipe, and it was just big enough to get the butt end of a capstan full strength in it, when a miner would normally have nipped it and got rid. And he gave us this pipe with the butt end of a capstan full strength, and my mum and dad were there. And I says, what do I do with this? And my dad had just said, well, what do you want to do with it? And I says, well, can I have a go? He said, yeah, of course you can. I was 8. I was 8-year-old. So we lit it. And of course, as I was using it, it was no inhalation or anything like that. But I got a taste for it there and then. And by the time I was 12, I was on 20 a day. But every time I went down to my grandma's, if my Uncle Tommy came round and my granddad was sitting, if they had their pipes on, I'd get the pipe on and be sitting like old fellas, you know, and just chewing the cud and talking pitmatic and stuff like that. And it kind of went from there. Now, I'm sure somebody will say that's bad parenting. These days we probably would, but bear in mind, I'm going back 50 years. That's a long, long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these days we don't even let kids go out on the street, so it's totally different nowadays.
Oh, I mean, you know, without a doubt, they're all wrapped in cotton wool these days, aren't they? I mean,
They've got no
all
need
that
to go out
Britain.
these days.
well, there's that as well.
Yeah.
The need to go out, the need, which actually is probably going to bring us on to our last topic,
Okay.
which we'll get to after the break. But it is time to take a quick break, unless you've got something desperate there, have yourself?
It's not related, but I have had a quick question that's just come in that someone wants you to answer quickly for them if you can.
I'll do my best.
And it's Nick Lawrence has asked your opinion on whether vaping 52mg is safe.
That's an interesting one. I'm using 45 at the minute, and 52, it's 8 milligrams more. I would probably be alright with it. I'd get to put it down more than I already do. And yes, I have discovered the meaning of the phrase put it down. I am actually putting it down. I never thought I'd say the date. But yeah, I would give it a try. I would give it a try on something that isn't the size of one of these things. You know, don't stick 6 mils in.
Yeah.
Use something that takes maybe half a mil. Give it a few drags, see how you feel, but take your time with it. if you're not already on 36 or 45, I wouldn't go up to 52, I don't think. But that's only because I haven't tried it. That said, I know my own tolerance for nicotine is way high. Well, you know, Sav. I can, you know, I can get through 10 mils of 45 in a day and it doesn't even touch, so I'm probably not the best yardstick.
I would just say that if we remember that, and it's got on all the bottles, that nicotine is a poisonous substance at the end of the day, and I know that we take great care, and we've got we do have regulation in some way, luckily. You know, just be careful. You know, try it, and if it doesn't, I wouldn't dream of going anything above, what is it, Armour, 24 milligram. That's
I don't know, I'll tell you.
24 milligram, I think. It's playing up at the minute, Dave. Has my battery gone flat? Hold on. I'm sure it's 24 milligram there, but I would just honestly say is be careful. Just really be careful, because at the end of the day, I know that it's on the bottles and we're not stupid. We are all adults, but nicotine is still a poisonous substance.
Yes.
You know.
As I say, try it, but just give it a few drags, and if it looks as though it's going to give you a headache or too much of a buzz, discontinue use. And on that note, we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll hit the last topic. Back in 2, don't go anywhere.
Vaporworld.co.uk sponsors conversation on VT Talk. And now back to conversation on VT Talk, sponsored by vaporworld.co.uk.
Yes, back in the room. Back in the room. Yeah, it was when you said about not, who was it said about not going out?
Me.
Yes, people have no need to go out, which brings us to an email I had from Russell at CamVip, asking, could we let people know about an event that's coming off? And this here is the event. It's the Night in the Pub Challenge. It's big enough you can read it, but I'll read through it anyway. Testers wanted Saturday the 18th of August. The object of the evening is to test out and share our thoughts on the Ritchie Impulse disposable electronic cigarette at the Angler's Rest. CamVip have purchased these from Daz at Safer Cigs for the purpose of group testing, as we believe them to be the best disposables available. All testers will receive a Ritchie disposable free of charge. If the group testers find them good enough, our aim is to make them available in pubs throughout the country at less than internet prices. And he's also apparently going to be trying to get the e-magazine printed up to be given away at Vapefest.
Right.
This is the online version there of it, and here, right hand side, that would be Russell Ord, Rusty as he used to be, CamVip as he is on many of the forums these days, I believe. And there you go, top tips, how to find a vaping pub, away with the dolphins, all this kind of stuff. Somehow that's gone very big all of a sudden. There we go, that's better. Technology, yeah.
Fabulous stuff.
Bites you on the bum, given the slightest chance. And it's there, and they're looking for for sponsors and what have you to get this printed up and make it a proper magazine and give it away at Vape Fest and get it into pubs and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to say Russell has spent 2 years that I'm aware of slaving his fingers down to the elbow with CamVip, but he doesn't seem to be getting that much of a reward. Not on a personal basis, but in terms of CamVip becoming the big kind of voice of e-cigs around the pubs. And given the amount of effort he's put in, and he never stops, he's tireless. He's always coming up with something. You cannot knock the lad's ingenuity. But it just doesn't seem to gain traction. And there has to be a reason for that. And I'm just wondering what people's thoughts are on it. Dougie, what about you?
Well, I mean, the pub scene, you know, the whole point of CamVip is, you know, saving pubs, basically, you know, and vaping in pubs. Unfortunately, what I feel could be one of the main factors is there's not enough people vaping to basically say come and vape in the pubs. Yeah, you can try and keep the people who regularly go in pubs and get them on e-cigs, but there's not enough people using electronic cigarettes at the moment to try and get back in the pubs. If vaping had been around another 10 years, then I believe it would be a totally different story, and he would probably be flying. CamVip would be way ahead of where he is now, unfortunately. But it's down to I'd say it's down to the amount of people who are actually using these devices. There's not enough.
So you reckon it's a bit kind of CamVip's ahead of its time?
Yes.
It's the world is not yet ready for it.
No.
Right. Now, here's the thing. My first introduction to you, Daz, was as a result of you had been going to open a pub, and it was going to be. What's your what was the intention? What was the kind of the ethos of what you were going to be opening in Deepest Darkest Hartlepool or wherever it was going to be?
I noticed, in probably the same as what I would imagine the reasoning behind what Russell wants to do, is because the pub industry is failing. You know, it's not as we know it, as we knew it, should I say. It's changed.
Yes.
It's changed dramatically. You know, it's far more commercialised in the sense of, you know, you want to go to a pub, to eat and have a drink. You know, I see far more pubs like that now than pubs that I remember that my dad went to when I was just little. And what I wanted to do was to bring the scene of, if people who smoke tobacco cigarettes, who also enjoy a drink, that they didn't want to have to go out in the rain, and they could come and sit in the comfort of a pub, enjoy a drink along with an electronic cigarette. And hence that was the whole idea behind the vaping, and opening a vaping pub, which I still think is a very, very good idea. You know,
you see, this whole notion of people going outside, I was thinking about this earlier on today, because we knew we were going to cover this, and a lot of people I know that I've spoken to over the last, I don't know how long, they don't smoke in their own houses.
No.
They go and stand outside to have a fag in their own houses or around their own houses, which is like, it's totally alien to me.
I did that.
Yeah?
Totally.
Yeah, me too.
You used to go outside, don't you?
And yeah, as soon as my daughter was born, I was outside.
And you said the same, Sav?
Yeah. As soon as I moved to the new house, all freshly decorated, I was outside.
And you were the same?
Well, not outside, but it was in the conservatory, it wasn't in the house.
Well, see, as long as I can remember, I mean, there's just no way. In fact, there was a party given by some folks up the street. They've moved out now, so I can talk about them because we don't know where the hell they're at. They threw a party. Now, on our street at that point in time, there was probably 60% of us that smoked. And off we went to the party, and course, yours truly, as soon as he had a drink in his hand, got a fag out, sparked it up, and the lady of the house said, no, you can't smoke that in here. We'll have to go outside. Pardon? It's a party. You've invited us to the house. You know I smoke. Yes, but we'll have to smoke outside. Can't have those filthy things in here. So, all right, fine, fair enough. So off I went, and so did everybody else. All shut off outside. We all sparked up.
Yeah.
And one of the bright sparks on the street, we threw a party and we invited them down. We all sparked up and told them to bugger off outside while we were having a fag. But it never occurred to me to go outside for a cigarette.
Yeah.
See, I've never bought into the second-hand smoking thing. And the reason why, for me at any rate, this was all brought about by, what do you call him? Dedications, what do you need?
Roy Castle.
That's him. I work the same circuit as Roy Castle. And he's the only one of the whole bang shout of us that got anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I've never quite taken it on board. I was in exactly the same place at the same time, smoking 60 a day.
Yeah.
And, I'm still walking about and breathing. So I never took that on board. But anyway, the gist of it all is, if people are happy to go and stand outside of their own houses to have a fag, then getting kicked out of a pub to go and have a fag is no issue, because it's what they do.
Do you not think that it's not just a case of getting kicked out because it's a case of getting kicked out because it's the law now that you can't smoke indoors? And smoking now has such a taboo. Smoking tobacco cigarettes is such a taboo. I know towards the end of me smoking tobacco cigarettes, there was very few places even outdoors where I felt comfortable. And I know that some people will not be bothered, and some people will probably even try now and go into wherever and try and light up a cigarette and be told to get out. But other people are going to feel more intimidated, and that's where I think, in my opinion, where education is should still play a massive part in vaping today. With vaping indoors, it's still not widely known, and there's still people who say, well, what's that, and I would imagine there's still a lot of landlords, doing the same in a lot of areas that don't know a lot about it, in all honesty. And that's why I think that one of the big parts, for vaping to be in pubs is down to education.
Yeah,
I mean Dave Kerr just said, I know we're starting to get short on time, but Dave Kerr said, he used to smoke in bed. I did when I lived at my mum and dad's, and I used to smoke in the house. But when I had the daughter, the smoking ban, I can't remember if it was in or it was just coming in. From the smoking ban is when my idea of smoking in the house changed, really. It's a weird one. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Why should we leave the house if we're disgruntled about having to leave a pub?
Well, that was my whole point. I mean, if you're going to get hired out of a pub, but you throw yourself out of your own house, I can see a lot of people. I know a lot of people go and stand outside if they're going to go and have a fag, as a matter of course, because that's what they do. And if they do that at home, they're not going to be worried about doing it at a pub. And I just wonder whether that might have something to do with it, or it might kind of subvert the whole CAMVIP thing. And it's a crying shame. It really is.
It is.
The pubs are they're dying. They're dying on the backside. Pubs as Rusty knows them, and as Russell knows them, and as a great many of us know. I mean, all of the local pubs around here, there's only 2 left, and you cannot walk. Well, you can walk to them, but you cannot walk back.
Yeah.
Or you can drive.
I just feel pubs should be split down the middle. You should have the smokers and the non-smokers, so you can go off into your half of the pub.
Yes.
And I can guarantee you that one will be packed.
The nice people and the straight-laced ones. That's what you want. Exactly.
And they used to have those rooms, I believe. Did they not?
Going back an awful long way, yes, they were indeed the case. They were indeed
Can I
the case.
interrupt you 1 second, Dave, to tell you you've got 1 minute and 30 seconds?
Yes, indeed, and I shall be starting the titles away, the credits away very, very shortly. I think we'd better leave that conversation there, because we could probably go on all night, but unfortunately we've only got an hour due to file sizes. It's been, yet again, an absolute... I've thoroughly enjoyed this tonight. I love this format. I think this is brilliant. I want to say thank you to Dougie. Dougie, thank you. Good
no problemo.
Oh, there she goes. Little Dougie.
Little Dougie.
Thanks to Daz for coming along and joining us. That's brilliant. Thanks to Sav for the usual good job, and you've got loads of room for yourself tonight.
I know, it's brilliant.
Do you like the new look?
I do.
Well,
I'm impressed.
From all of us then, talk over it. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
VT Talk was sponsored by Vaporworld, introducing the straight-up range of e-liquid from the USA containing real tobacco extracts.